It's day 5, it's a late spring, and we are finally ready to be able to plant our soybean and our corn. Hello again, I am Jim Bob, and welcome back to Seasons in the Valley. It's a very miserable start to the day. We have that horrible, horrible weather that was predicted. It is going to get a bit sunnier later, as you can see, but right now it is very, very wet indeed. It's not going to have a major impact for us at this stage, but obviously if this was a harvest day, this would cause some major problems. So, just have to be wary of that once it gets towards harvest time. And, oh, the rain is actually stopping. It has been raining for a few hours, and I've been paying attention, as I did say I would do, been paying attention to that great demand that we got last episode. It is still running. It's going to run till 11 o'clock this morning. I'll show you the price. It's currently 277. Now, if we go to the prices menu in here and scroll down to wood chips, you can see it's slightly elevated at the moment as opposed to where it should be in that curve because of the great demand. But it did dip at midnight. It was sitting at, what, 297, I think the price was yesterday, and it didn't move at all. And then midnight hit and the price dropped about 250 something, and it started to go up about 2 hours ago, 3 hours ago. So it's now up to 270 something, and it is still going up a little bit. And I think it's going to keep going up now until we hit sort of just before 11 o'clock, and that's when it will kind of just suddenly drop once it hits 11 o'clock. But I think up until that point, it's going to keep going up. So we are currently at 277. It's not going to be good enough, really, to justify selling, not unless it goes up dramatically in the next couple of hours. So we're going to kind of ignore that, and instead we're going to get on with our seeding. So it's time for us to actually use our maestro. So we've got some corn that we need to plant, and we're going to need our maestro to do that. There it is. Let's get hooked up. There we go. And we need to fill this up with both seed and fertilizer as well. So we may have to move. Ah, no, that's the liquid fertilizer station. So we can. Ooh. That's interesting. Bit of a height clearance issue there. Just clipped the the ceiling there. It's kind of wedged us a little bit. We'll have to be very wary of that. Remember not to bring the seeder through that way again. We're okay with the Pronto, I think, but this one, yeah, not so much. So let's back this in so we can refill it. Or I might say refill it, fill it, because we haven't actually filled it yet. There we go. Let's change our seed type to corn. There we go. It's quite a thirsty tank. This is going to eat up quite a lot of money. And you can see our money is dropping and dropping and dropping. In terms of our finances, let's have a look and see where we are. At the moment, we are 375,000 euros in debt. So it's going to be an expensive sort of summer period, I think. We're going to have to do a little bit of contracting. Speaking of contracting, I did do a couple of quick contract jobs over here on fields 50 and 51. And we'll swing by there and have a look at those in a moment. Wow, this thing is really, really thirsty. I didn't realise this thing took so much fertiliser. That's an awful lot. 7,000 litres. Ouch, that's quite expensive. Right, let's get our seed in there as well. Obviously, this is a kind of a one-time fill. We're not going to need to fill this for quite some time again. At least, hopefully, that's the case. Anyway, we might need to top the seed levels up, but the fertilizer levels probably won't need to top those up for another, until probably the end of next year, I would imagine. maybe even the year after that. Depends how much kind of corn or sugar beet or anything else like that, or sunflowers that we plant in the future. Only holds 2,000 litres of seed. That can't be right. It can't really be that big a discrepancy, can it? 2,000 litres of seed, 7,000 litres of... That's got to be a bug. I know it's been a long time since I've used a Maestro, but it can't be that big a discrepancy. Okay, that's a little concerning. Let's make our way over to our fields. In fact, actually, let's go this way so I can swing by fields 50 and 51. So I did 3 jobs across those 2 fields. One of the fields, I think, let's see, field 51, I just seeded, and that was using the new 12-meter horse seeder, which the name escapes me at the moment. The Evo, I think it is, the Horse Evo. I used that, and of course that fertilises as it plants. So that was just a single job, and then I moved across to field 50, and I did a seeding job using the Lemken seeder, the 12-meter Lemken seeder, which doesn't fertilise. So after that, I was also given a quick fertiliser job as well. So I managed to get a little bit of extra cash and a slightly, extra discount as well. Again, we're getting that juddering as we drive past these trees. I hadn't planned on cutting those trees down for a long time, but if that frame juddering continues, I may have to accelerate my plans in that area just to stop that juddering from happening every time I drive through there. But as luck would have it, these 2 fields over here, fields 50 and 51, are owned by the same farmer that we've already done some work for. So that's really, really good. It's given us a huge discount on those fields already. I've just driven past one of them there. We'll tag this one here on the end. Let's just pull in here. Get off the road. Oops. Parked on the bridge. So we just quickly jump here. You can actually see they've started growing already. So you can see, look, it's George Watson. It's the farmer that we've already done some discount work with. So already we've almost got a completely full discount on these fields here. And he owns this field and that field there, 50 and 51. So that's a huge added bonus that I just was completely unaware of. That farmer is the same one that we've already done quite a bit of contract work for across the other fields that we've worked and purchased. He's owned them all. So I'm wondering how many other fields he owns. That could prove quite useful. It just it's quite fortuitous that he happens to own all the fields that we've been wanting to work on. So we're looking at a nice tidy discount and a much lower price than we should have had to pay, had they been at full price. So, plan for today then is to kind of do some planting, obviously, with our Maestro first of all. And we're going to plant corn on fields 2 and 6 that are now combined into that single field. And when we've done that, we'll then return the seeder back to the farm, switch to the Pronto, and then we'll come back out here and fields 24, 25, which are now one single field, and then field 26, which is that ploughed grass field, we'll plant soybean on those 2 fields. And they'll be kind of our useful money crops to a point. Well, maybe not so much a money crop with corn, but we could go sunflower actually instead of corn. I think we've got the right temperature to plant. We needed 10 degrees to be able to plant corn and soybean, and we now have 10 degrees, so we are able to plant those two crops. I think sunflower is also going to be in that window, so we could maybe plant sunflower instead. That'll be worth more than corn, and our header will still be able to process that as well, so that's definitely something we could think about. I should have gone at the top there, really, shouldn't I? Started at the top and worked our way down rather than working our way up. Oh, well, never mind. We're going to pull in just here. So let's just take another quick look at our planting. So sunflowers, we see 7. It's a bit late really for us to plant sunflowers. We're kind of halfway through that window already, which means if we plant now, then we run the risk of, if we get bad, it's going to be towards the end of that harvest window in autumn before that crop is going to be ready. And if we get bad weather towards the end of autumn, then we could potentially lose that crop. So we'll stick with corn and soybean, I think. We'll play it safe. We're at the beginning of a seeding window for both of those two crops. So let's lower the seeder, let's turn it on. And I'm going to do a headland all the way around the field. To make things a little bit easier. And then as we run across the field, we'll run in this direction all the way across. Of course, we did add some fertilizer to our field to kind of balance it out. This will be applying stage 2 fertilization while we're planting. So we're only going to need to give these crops one little boost, either with a weeder or more likely with our sprayer, just to get them all the way up to stage 3. So we're not going to need to do too much maintenance on this particular crop. We do need to start thinking about a mower for our farm as well. That's going to be an issue that we need to resolve for the summer. We're going to have all this grass that needs to be cut. And currently we have absolutely nothing to cut it with, so we do desperately need to start thinking about our mowers. I would really prefer to have a T6 so that we could do a front and back mower combination, but it may be that we can only go with a rear mower and just use our little T5. I don't want to use the T7. It's just going to be a lot of extra hours on the T7 that's already done a very large amount of work. I'd kind of like to limit just how many hours we're putting on this thing, if I can, because it is definitely our workhorse, this Blue Power T7. We've done all of our ploughing with it, we've done our cultivating with it, we've done all of our seeding with it. No doubt, we've also, used it to transport wood chips in our trailers and some logs as well. I really don't want to completely overload this thing, overburden it with just too much work, because we do need to start thinking about the maintenance costs. The more hours we put on it, the quicker those costs are going to start to go up. So, I mean, I could, especially now that we have more land, I could quite comfortably take out a larger loan. I'm a little hesitant to do that, to get a T6 on top of the equipment that we need as well, because we do need, obviously, the mowing setup, but to go alongside that we're also going to need something to collect the grass, so either a baler or, well, we have a baler, but we also are going to look at needing a tedder. We're also probably going to need a windrower. Ooh, little bump there. Let's slow down over that, and there we go. That's tagged it. the corner. There we go. Just run along here. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back to the other end of the field again. Because we have a nice straight line along most of the bottom edge of this field. So now that we have that straight line, I'm going to start doing, you know, the side passes with our ridge marker, so that I can actually see where I need to position myself for the next pass. And then the gaps that are left, we'll kind of do those afterwards. I think that's going to be the easiest way to deal with this field. So I just need to try and make sure I stay in a straight line along here. As best I can. Hope that the ridge marker is going to stay pretty visible. I may well need to sort of come back and touch up that edge just there. But if I can keep going in a nice kind of smooth straight line, and of course now I've lost my I've lost my guideline now. As we get to this point, so it's going to have to kind of watch. Yeah, you can see we are going to have to go and just fill that gap in a little bit there. I expected that might be the case. And you can see, look, automatically we're just drifting a little bit. Let's try and pull across again. There we go. At least now I have my kind of guide point. Gonna need to put in an extra bit of height up here. By the look of it. There we go. It's gonna make this look a little bit messy, but or at least in terms of the seed pattern. But at least now we know where we need our planting to be, and then once we have a straight line to work from, we can obviously create our next straight line as we're doing that. So it should make harvesting the rest, or not harvesting, sorry, planting the rest of this pretty straightforward. But yeah, the steepness and the angle of this hill means that it's not going to be completely straightforward. There is going to be a little bit of kind of work involved in this, so I'm going to carry on seeding away on this field, and then once that's done I will check back in with you in just a moment. We have another great demand. Now we have one for grass for a brief period of time. I didn't get the chance to actually read the rest of it. Damn it. So I didn't get the chance to see how long that lasted for. That's a common occurrence on my Let's Plays. A great demand popping up and I have no idea how long it's for. Let's just tag this line here. Even with these ridge markers, it's still proving pretty tricky to stay in a straight line. I'd say it's such a steep hill that it is proving very, very hard to follow a perfect straight line. Obviously we could hire a worker to do it for us, but that kind of defeats the point and the purpose. Plus it's also expensive. As you can see, money is not something we have an abundant supply of right now. Alright, let's have another crack at ridge markering. Try and follow this line and hope that we get a nice straight one being built to the side of us. Again, every time we get to any kind of slope, you can see it immediately changes the angle. And even here, look, you can see the ridge couldn't stay in a straight line here either. It's just, you know, you're constantly getting changed in terms of your position on the field. With those angled slopes like that, it makes it so hard to to stay in a true line. I think we've managed it pretty well. Oops, just clips the pavement there. And even that there, following that ridge marker, it's still left a thin gap that we've just covered up there. So I don't think ridge markers are really going to be that helpful to us. I think it's going to be easier to just kind of eyeball it. I don't know. I'll try it without the ridge marker going back. You can see it steps in just a touch here, so we need to step in as well to make sure that we're not leaving that thin gap. And you can see there we've stepped in just a bit, and it's kind of, we're stepping out again. Look, see, it's so hard to, when you're on such a steep angle like this. I mean, it is just, look at that slope. I mean, it's just, really, really steep. Makes it so hard to work these fields in a efficient manner. Alright, I'm going to carry on seeding. We've almost finished seeding, just got a little bit left of this field now. There we go. Just this thin piece here, running down to the far end of the field. So I don't think we'll get that all in one. We're looking at two more very short passes. I'd rather play it safe, seeing as I know I can't get it all in one. Oh, actually, I think I possibly could have got that all in one. Never mind. Actually used up quite a bit of seed. And hardly any fertiliser. That's the biggest problem with the Maestro, or at least this Maestro, is that the seed to fertiliser ratio is just completely screwed up. All that fertiliser and no seed, those numbers have got to be the wrong way round. It can't be right. Let me pop the lid. No, I see, look, yeah, the fertiliser is taking the two large tanks, so maybe it is accurate. I just can't understand why it would be. Alright, well there we go. We have finished seeding our corn. So, oops, big bump there. There is a very weird little ridge right on the edge of that field there, and we caught that quite severely there. So it's time for us to head back to the farm, drop this seeder back in its bay. Oop. Another car coming as well. Nearly pulled that straight into that car there. These pillars. Oh, he wants to turn by the look of it. Okay, he's letting us out. Ah. There we go. Alright, we're free. So yeah, let's go drop this back at the farm, pick up our Pronto, and then head over to our other fields and plant our soybean. Right, so we're at the wash station. We'll give this thing a quick hose down before we put it away. Obviously, we've got to take the long way back around here. We can't just nip through that underpass like we did when we brought it through, because it's not going to fit. And we found that out the hard way. Caught on that, on that ceiling. Let's give the trailer a quick clean as well. It's pretty dirty, just so I can see out the windows a little bit better. There we go. Right, so let's plonk that there. Yeah, we can't go that way. It's just not enough height clearance, so we'll have to go the long way around. I'm a little concerned now about the amount of fertilizer I pumped into this thing. I think we might end up replacing this seeder quite quickly with maybe the larger Maestro, the 12-meter Maestro from the aggravation pack, because that has got a much better mix of a much better ratio of seed to fertilizer. But we've put so much fertilizer in that now, we're kind of obliged to carry on using it until we've used up more of that fertilizer. It's a little bit light at the moment. So right, which way should we go? We went that way last time. Let's go this way, and we'll cut through through the town. We're back at this junction once again. We keep turning in here quite a lot recently, but it is obviously where we need to go. So we'll start off, I think, with the grass field. And again, we're going to need to do sort of a headland around the field so that we have clearance away from that fence. I mean, we've got that slight separation already. But, let's see, we want soybean, so let's select soybean. There we go. Let's lower the seeder, turn it on. Let's start seeding. Hopefully we won't catch on the fence as I try and do this in first person. It's going to be a bit tricky in a couple of places. Oh yeah, we caught the fence. I was a little worried about that. I caught it again. I just drove straight. I'm going to have to do this bit like this. It's just too tight to do in that little corner there. It really does get quite close to the fence. There we go. Right, so along here we should be fine. But yeah, this is going to be our money crop. These two fields up here. This is where we're going to try and obviously make the bulk of our cash. I'm not entirely sure when the best month to sell is going to be. We'll check that in a minute. And, oh, we've got a great demand for... We're getting loads of great demands just popping at the moment, aren't we? We never did check out that grass one. And also, we're in the final hour now. Let's just raise that and turn that off for a second. We're in the final hour of our wood chip demand, so let's check that out as well. Look at the price of wool. Wow. That's huge. Is that season's inflated? It's not far off. I mean, you can see there, mid-spring is the very, very best time to sell your wool. And you're looking at around 9,000 there, but we're probably looking at around about 8,500 as a standard price for this kind of period of the year. And it's 11 3/4, so that's high. That's really high. I wonder if that's going to stay like that or even go up. or whether it'll start falling down. This just isn't high enough. I mean, it's less than it was yesterday. It kind of stabilised now, so we're going to be ignoring that. And of course, we have no price available on loose straw or grass. So I'm guessing we'd have to look at the bale price for grass bales. There is no price for grass, so we can't sell grass at all by the look of it. We can sell straw and we can sell hay. Grass on its own has no value whatsoever. Right, let's... What am I indicating? Let's just get right up against the fence like that. Push that into the corner. Quite far enough over yet. There we go. I didn't realise just how rough this edge was. Might have tidied that up a little bit if I'd realised. It's not too bad, it'll do. Go. So yeah, we never did look at the price for when was going to be the best time to sell soybean, did we? I'll finish the border and then we'll check. There we go. Right, so soybean. Well, we're going to be sitting on that for a long time. We're not going to be selling that till summer. Beginning of summer next year. So we're going to harvest that sort of end of this autumn, and then it's going to be sitting in our silo all through winter and spring before we sell that. So that's... I suppose that's something we should have factored into when we could actually sell our crops. We're going to be overly reliant, I think, on income from logging and wood chips. We are going to seriously have to think about doing something. I mean, contracting on this doesn't pay well at all. I mean, we get very small amounts for the job itself. We don't get a time bonus. Contracting now in seasons is scaled, I think, appropriately, so you can't just earn huge amounts of money working other people's fields. Seasons is all about running your farm and working your farm at various different stages of the year rather than working other people's farms. So that kind of makes sense. Yes, you can do the odd contract mission here and there and you'll get a little bit of cash for it, but it's not a lot. It's not enough to make it worthwhile as a regular source of income. I was getting on average €1,500 per job that I've done so far on all the fields that I've done, including 51 and 52, an average total income of up of €1,500 per contract, which is nothing. It's absolutely nothing at all. But it does obviously give us that nice discount, so that to me is the main reason for contracting in seasons, is to or at least on this map anyway, with the fields that we've looked at so far, is just to kind of bring the price down on some of those fields so they're a little bit cheaper to purchase rather than relying on earning, contracting to earn a huge amount of money. Puts you under a bit more pressure financially. And we could just, chop down a huge amount of forest if we wanted to, but it's not really something that, farmers do at this time of year. It's definitely the wrong time of year to do that. This is all about, making sure everything's planted in spring. Summer is all about looking after your crops and grass work. And then autumn is your harvest time, and then winter is the time that you do your logging and your vehicle maintenance and get everything sort of just checked and ready for the start of the new season. Also, once you've actually been running seasons for a while, it's recommended that you do your ploughing, if you need to do any ploughing, in autumn, immediately after you harvest, or at least do your cultivating in autumn, so that your fields are kind of ready to go as soon as they thaw out in spring. You can literally, as soon as the ground is the right temperature, you can just go straight on and start planting on it. Obviously with this particular seeder we have no need to cultivate, and all of our fields are ploughed, so we're not going to need to do that for another 2.5 years now. Obviously any new fields that we pick up from this point onwards will need to be ploughed before we plant on them to really maximise our yield. And I think we may end up doing some silage baling in the summer to raise some extra cash. And obviously silage baling is a little bit different in seasons. You have to wait, I think it's 2 days. Now I don't know if that's scaled, so whether it's 2 days on a full on a 3-day season, or whether that's 2 days then scaled up would be on a 9-day, sorry, on a 6-day season. That would be 4 days if it scales up like that. I don't know if it scales. If it doesn't, then it's 2 days is 2 days regardless of how long the seasons are. But if it scales, then we're going to be looking at 4 days. Unless the scale is marked against 6 days. I need to clarify that. I'll have to check the mod manual on Realismus Modding's website to check exactly how long our silage is going to need to ferment, whether it's a stage of a season or 2 days, and if it is 2 days, and whether that's a fixed 2 days regardless of how many days you're playing in each season, or whether it's 2 days based on a 3-day season or a 6-day season, and then it scales appropriately. So we'll look into that, but we'll definitely, I think, need to do some silage baling to raise some cash, because well, you've seen our finances, and you've seen how long it's going to be before we can sell our soybean, which is our main money crop that we're planting. We'll have wheat that we can sell, we'll have barley that we can sell, and corn, and canola as alternative crops as well. But even so, this is the big money crop. So let's quickly check our other crops. So with wheat, we're looking at selling, actually I think the best time to sell that's going to be winter. Same with barley. So those are actually going to be, we can sell those pretty much straight away. And canola as well. Canola we can sell in winter, so that's good. That's 3 of our 5 crops that we're planting that we'll be able to sell straight away in winter to get some money back. What about our corn? See, our corn is kind of at its best early summer and midwinter. It's kind of about the same. So we could possibly sit on that until the summer. I might do that actually. I might sit on the corn until next summer. I suppose it depends on whether we get a great demand during those windows or not. Right. Field number 2. I'm going to quickly whiz through this. Get this done. Because I do want to quickly show you the Wopstr at the end of this episode as well. So we're not going to see too much action on this field. I'm going to kind of whiz through it a little bit. But I'll get everything seeded, and then I'll catch up with you once it's done. as we finish off this field and I switch to an in-cab mode. I never cease to be impressed by the attention to detail that Giants seem to take with their product. You could see in the rearview mirror, you can actually see the dirt being thrown up in the through the seeder, which I thought was really nice and impressive. Those mirrors are fantastic. You can see the equipment, in operation. You can see the dirt coming up through the back of them. It's just a nice little attention to detail that they didn't necessarily need to put in, But the fact that it's there, I do appreciate that. Right, time to head back to the farm. And then we're going to start examining things with the Wopstr, because I think we might be getting close to another growth stage on some of our fields. So might be the final growth stage that we need to actually sort of treat with fertilizer and so on and so forth. You can see our canola field there is starting to come in quite nicely. I wonder if that's ready for another stage of fertilizer. That's our... Oh, that was our wheat field, wasn't it? That's our barley. This is our canola field here. Get my fields mixed up for a second then. Yeah, there's our canola. I think we might be able to put a second coat of, or a second application of fertilizer over the top of that. That'll be stage 3 then, because obviously we've got 1 from the seeder, and then we've already sprayed it once. So that'll be the last bit of work that we need to do. Make our way along this bumpy dirt track. It's really rough in a couple of places. You really do have to be careful in this section. If you go too fast, you're going to get bounced all over the place, and you could end up, if like me you play with crop destruction, you could end up just bouncing into your field and wiping out a section of your crop there. So one of the farmers has planted some spuds. Right, so we'll deal with putting this away in a moment. I'm just going to leave this here for now. So let's cut through our chickens here. Hop the fence. Cut through our back garden. Hop the fence again. And let's take a look at our wheat field, and let's take a look at the Wopstr. So I just need to pull up the Realismus modding manual. Here we go. So if you're using the manual, you want to go to, and the manual section in the overview, you want to go to measuring. Measuring is where it'll give you all the breakdown of what the Wopstr can do. So it is a really wonderful little multi-purpose kind of tool, and it's really straightforward to use as well. You just kind of point it at whatever you want to do, and then just hold down circle, and you can see the button flashing, or the little cursor flashed a second there, and then it gives you a load of information based on what you've pushed it against. So this is obviously looking at a field, so you can see in terms of the measurements that we get from this. First off, we get our grid coordinates. So on our map, if I just close that down, you can see in the bottom corner of our map we get our grid coordinates. This is just basically telling us where on the map we've actually pointed our Wopstr at. The elevation is the next one there. So this is based on the level of where the water is on the map at the point where your vehicle floods and becomes unusable and has to be recovered with a reset. So we are 32.3 meters above that water level. Doesn't really do anything, at least at this stage in seasons. It may possibly play a factor in the future, but at this point, elevation is literally just there as a bit of information. It doesn't have any relevance to gameplay whatsoever. Then below that we have our fruit type, so you can see this is identifying this field as a wheat field, which is good. The height of the crop is next, so we're at 33% height, or 33% growth of this crop. Now, if that needs to be at 100% before we can harvest. If it doesn't get to 100% height before the end of the harvest window, then it's a failed crop. So if the harvest window for this particular crop comes and goes, and it's say 87% that it's stuck at, or 83%, or something like that, and it doesn't make it all the way up to 100, this crop has failed, and we can't harvest it, so it's wasted. So hopefully that won't be an issue for us. Below that is the crop moisture, and this is used to determine whether we can actually harvest our crop. I think it has to be under 20%, I think, for us to be able to harvest. It might need to be even lower than that. Well, I guess we'll find out when we get to harvest season exactly where we can and can't harvest. In the future, it's planned that you'll always be able to harvest, but a higher moisture level will give you a lower return on your yield. So you want to kind of wait for your crops to dry out more before you start harvesting. But that's in the future, apparently. That's something that's currently being worked on with a future update. So that'll be kind of cool. Then below that we have the fertilization level. So you can see we're at 67%, which is 2 stages of fertilization. And obviously when we put the 3rd stage on, that'll go up to 100%. And then below that is the ground wetness level. This kind of determines how good our traction is going to be. So the ground's very, very wet, as you can see, because we've had a lot of rain. You know, we had rain yesterday in the evening. We had rain yesterday in the morning. We had rain this morning as well for a few hours. The ground is drying out a little bit, but it's still got a way to go before it really, really dries out. So this will make it a little bit harder for us to drive around on the field. It'll be a little bit slippier. We'll have a little bit less traction. So that's kind of something to take into consideration. And in the future, again, it says here, there are also plans for it to affect soil compaction. So that'll be kind of cool. We can also use it to identify trees. Now we're a little bit too far away, which is why the ring went red. But there you go. This one is identified as a fir tree, and you can see it's 100%. Which means this tree is fully grown. So we do it the same on this one here. There we go, that was 100% as well. It won't always identify all tree types. Some trees are apparently unknown to Wopstr. So this one here, you can see it doesn't know what the type of tree is, but it does recognise that it's 100%, it's fully grown. We've got a couple more trees over here. These are the birch trees, I think. Or, you know, these silver ones. Yeah. And then this should be an oak tree, I think. And again, Wopstr can't determine the type of tree, but it is telling us that it's 100% height. If we run over to our other fields over here, see we have other crops that are growing as well. Then we can jump over the fence here. We can point at this one, and again it's giving us our coordinates, our height, and it's identifying now as barley. So you can see again, 33% height, 18% soil, crop moisture, 67% fertilization, so 2 stages, and 48% ground moisture as well. Over here, this should identify it as grass. Yes, there we go. It identifies as grass, and so on and so forth. And also, what you can also do is you can point this at a bale, and it'll tell you the bale type. as well, give you an idea of the bale value. So for those of you that are using this map is fully seasons ready, so it has a snow mask. So if you have bales in the right places, they will be protected and they won't rot. If you leave bales out in the open, then they will start to rot, especially when it rains. And this will be able to tell you just how much value your bale has, as well as the type of that bale is as well. So it'll be able to tell you if it's a straw bale, a hay bale, a grass bale, a silage bale. It'll be able to tell you how much value is left in that bale, if it's started to rot, which is a really, really cool little feature. And if it's a silage bale, it'll also tell you how fully fermented that bale is as well. So you'll be able to track how quickly your bales are fermenting and at what stage they're at just by pointing the Wopstr at it. That's a really nice little feature. The Wopstr can do all sorts of wonderful, wonderful things, but it is a little bit temperamental. As Realismus puts it, it is a magical, advanced and fragile device. If it doesn't work, or it doesn't do something you expect it to, try again in a different direction. This can also identify pallets as well. It'll identify the type of pallet and what is in that pallet and how much is left in it. I wonder if it'll identify what's in my cedar. No, I didn't think it would. I'm going to try something though, just out of curiosity. I'm not expecting anything to happen here, but I wonder if I can actually get it to identify my crane. That'd be kind of cool. Nope. No, I didn't think it would. But it was worth a try. So, there we go. Our fields are planted. Let's take a look, actually. So there you can see we're at planting stage of growth there and there. They will now start to grow in and will be ready to harvest towards the end of our harvest window, towards the mid to end of autumn. In terms of fertilizer stages, this one's already at stage 3, which is great. We don't need to do anything to this. This is because we did it when it was a grass field a couple of times, and then when we ploughed it, it kept those stages of fertilization, and when we seeded with the fertilizer being put down at the same time as the seed, instantly went to stage 3, which is kind of cool. This is going to need a layer of fertilization. We've got to wait for it to grow a bit first. Same with our corn over here. That's going to need one more stage of fertilizer to get it to stage 3. Again, we've got to wait for that to grow a little bit. These fields down here, we should actually be able to fertilize these right now. So I'm going to do that now. And that'll be the end of kind of my action for day 5. You guys aren't going to see that because we're pretty much out of time. But I'll get those sprayed up to stage 3, and then day 6. Day 6 will be us kind of prepping our equipment choices and maybe buying in some new equipment or maybe leasing some equipment ready for the summer, ready for our grass work. So we'll need to get hold of a bale wrapper. We're going to need to get hold of a tedder. We're going to need to get hold of mowers, and just maybe I may push the boat out and get a T6 as well. I haven't quite decided on that, so we'll find out what goes on with that when you come back for the next episode, which will be day 6, the final day of spring. So thanks for watching. I'm Jim Bob, and we'll be back with some more Seasons in the Valley very soon.